They say you can judge a person's character by how they treat those who can do nothing for them. Richard Montgomery was about to learn this lesson in the most unexpected way, and it would shatter everything he thought he knew about the woman who had cleaned his mansion for 3 years. Richard Montgomery had everything money could buy. His penthouse overlooked Central Park. His garage housed 6 luxury cars, and his investment portfolio made him one of New York's youngest, self-made millionaires at 42. But on that cold November evening, as he returned home early from a business dinner, he discovered something that would haunt him forever. The house was supposed to be empty. His maid, Maria Santos, always left by 6 o'clock sharp. Yet as Richard entered through the side entrance, he heard something, a faint rustling coming from the kitchen. His first thought was an intruder. His second thought, as he quietly approached, was much worse. There, crouched behind the kitchen island in the dim light of the refrigerator, was Maria. But she wasn't stealing silver or rifling through his belongings. She was eating, desperately, hungrily, the leftover chicken parmesan from his dinner party 2 nights ago. Her thin hands trembled as she brought the cold food to her mouth, eating straight from the container as if afraid someone might snatch it away. Richard froze. In 3 years, Maria had been nothing but professional, efficient, and invisible in the way wealthy people preferred their help to be. She arrived at 7 each morning, cleaned his 12,000-square-foot home until it sparkled, and left without a word. He knew virtually nothing about her except that she did excellent work and never asked for anything extra. "Maria?" His voice came out softer than he intended. She jumped so violently that the container fell from her hands, splattering pasta sauce across the marble floor. Her face went white, then red with shame. Tears immediately sprang to her eyes. "Mr. Montgomery, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, I'll clean this up right now. I'll replace the food. Her words tumbled out in panicked English mixed with Spanish, her accent thick with fear. "Maria, wait!" Richard held up his hand, his mind racing. "Why are you eating leftovers in the dark? Why didn't you just take food home if you were hungry?" She stood there, tears streaming down her weathered face, her cleaning uniform hanging loose on her frame. Had she always been this thin? How had he never noticed? "I didn't want to steal from you, sir. You're so good to me. You pay me fair. I waited until I thought the food would go bad anyway, so it wouldn't be waste. I would never take fresh food, never. Please. Don't fire me, please. I need this job." Something in Richard's chest cracked open. "You're not stealing, Maria, but I don't understand. If you're hungry, why not take food? I throw away enough food each week to feed a family." Maria's shoulders shook. "I send most of my money home, sir. To Mexico. My daughter, she has leukemia. The treatments, they cost so much. Every dollar I save means maybe 1 more month of medicine. 1 more month she gets to live. I eat enough to work. That's all I need." The words hit Richard like a physical blow. While he'd been throwing away gourmet meals and complaining about restaurant selections, this woman had been rationing her own food to save her child's life. "Your daughter, how old is she?" 14, sir. Her name is Sophia. She's so brave. She never complains, even when the chemotherapy makes her so sick." Maria pulled out her phone with shaking hands, showing him a photo of a beautiful girl with a bright smile and a bald head, covered by a colorful scarf. "This is her. This is my reason." Richard stared at the photo, then at Maria, really seeing her for the first time. The deep circles under her eyes, the way her uniform was safety-pinned at the waist, because she'd lost so much weight, the worn-out shoes she'd probably owned for years. She wasn't just his maid. She was a mother fighting the most desperate battle imaginable. "How long has she been sick?" 3 years, sir. Since just after I started working for you. Before I worked 3 jobs. But when Sophia got sick, I needed one good job with steady hours so I could call her every day, so I could send money regularly. You gave me that. You gave me hope that I could save her." Richard's throat tightened. 3 years. Every single day, Maria had walked into his home carrying this unbearable weight, and he'd never asked, never noticed, never cared enough to see past the surface. "Maria, sit down, please." "Sir, the mess—" "Forget the mess, sit." Hesitantly, she sank into one of the kitchen chairs, looking like she might bolt at any moment. Richard sat across from her, his mind working through the details of what he was about to do. "Tell me about Sophia's treatment. What does she need?" For the next hour, Maria told him everything. The experimental treatment in Mexico City that insurance wouldn't cover. The medication that cost $3,000 a month. The specialists who offered hope but required payment up front. The mounting medical bills that were drowning her despite working 60-hour weeks. She'd already sold her car, her jewelry, anything of value. She'd moved into a single room she shared with 2 other women to save on rent. With each detail, Richard felt smaller and smaller. He'd spent $3,000 on a watch last month without blinking. He'd dropped $5,000 on a wine that he'd barely tasted at a business dinner. And Maria had been starving herself in his kitchen, trying to save those same amounts to give her daughter a chance at life. When she finished, her voice barely a whisper, Richard stood up. "Come with me." "Sir?" He led her to his office and opened his laptop. Within minutes, he'd pulled up the hospital in Mexico City where Sophia was being treated. He made a call, his wealth meant people answered at any hour, and spoke directly to the billing department. "I'm calling about Sophia Santos. I want to know the total cost of her treatment, including the experimental therapy her doctors have recommended. Every test, every medication, every procedure she needs for the next 2 years. Yes, I'll hold." Maria stood frozen in the doorway, her hand covering her mouth. $240,000 total. Yes, I'll wire the money tomorrow morning. I want the family to know there will be no bills, no co-pays, nothing. Complete coverage. Yes, this is legitimate. My accountant will be in touch first thing tomorrow. I want this handled by the weekend. When he hung up, Maria collapsed. Not fainted, collapsed under the weight of relief too enormous to carry standing up. She sobbed into her hands, her whole body shaking, making sounds that were barely human. Richard knelt beside her, this man who'd never comforted anyone in his life, and let her cry. "Why?" she finally gasped. "Why would you do this?" Richard thought about all his possessions, his achievements, his success. None of it had ever made him feel the way he felt right now. "Because I can. Because you shouldn't have to choose between eating and saving your daughter. Because I've been blind, Maria, and you've helped me see." He paused. "And because no mother should have to hide in the dark to eat leftovers while fighting for her child's life." But Richard didn't stop there. Over the following weeks, he arranged for Sophia to be transferred to a top pediatric oncology center in Houston, where she could receive the best care while being closer to her mother. He helped Maria find an apartment near the hospital and increased her salary. Not as a maid, but as his personal household manager, a position that came with full health, benefits, and a salary 3 times what she'd been earning. 6 months later, Sophia was in remission. Richard met her when Maria brought her to the house, a vibrant, laughing teenager who reminded him that the best investments aren't measured in stock portfolios. On Sophia's 15th birthday, Richard received a card. Inside was a photo of Sophia, hair growing back, standing with her mother in their new apartment. The message, in careful English, read, "Your thank you for giving me my life and my mother back. You're our angel. Love, Sophia." Richard kept that card on his desk, right next to his business awards. Eventually, he started a foundation focused on helping families facing catastrophic medical bills. Maria helped him run it, using her experience to identify people who were falling through the cracks, hiding their hunger, rationing their hope. Richard had spent his whole life building wealth, but it wasn't until he found Maria hiding in his kitchen that he learned what it meant to be truly rich. Sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who can teach us the most profound lessons about courage, sacrifice, and love. And sometimes a single act of kindness can save 2 lives, the one you're helping and your own.